Hi, my name is Carl Schumacher, and since I'm going to be spending quite a bit of time with you in these videos that are coming up, I thought it might be helpful that you have a little bit of a picture of who I am. I was born in West Germany. I was adopted to the United States at age 3. I came to a military family. My father and mother were both served in World War II. My father was an enlisted man and my mother was a nurse. Uh, I then grew up in California. Once I was adopted, I came to California in the United States. I had a sister who was also adopted, but from a different family, and we grew up in a non-Christian home. My father died when I was 7, which really marked my life. I was a person that was just really overtaken by fear. But as time went on, I began to see just how destructive that fear actually was in my relationships. I was very possessive. And when I finally got to college, I met my first biblical Christian. And when I met this guy, I was shocked that he actually did what he said he would do. He was a person of integrity. And then when I went to dental school, I also was exposed to 2 more Christians, and they too lived out their faith in such a way that it was very attractive. I attended a Bible study for about a year and a half, and at the end of that, I was up in the Santa Cruz Mountains with my then roommate, who was a Christian, and he had invited me to this very small church camp, and I began to realize as I listened to people and saw what was going on, that the problems that I had was with myself was called sin, and that there was a solution. As people I remember this very distinctly. It was the night of the 31st in 1982. There's 30 people were in a circle, and they began to share what Christ meant in their lives. And they shared some very intimate things, and I was just shocked. I would never have shared those kind of things in public. But what I began to realize, and what the Spirit of God made very clear, is as they shared this problem, they shared Christ was the solution. The next person shared they had these struggles, and Christ was the solution. And as that went around, the Spirit of God convicted me that, Carl, your problem is your personal sin. And there is only one solution, and that is Jesus Christ, to forgive your sins and to make you a new person. And so that night in 1982, December 31st, I gave my life to Christ. And right then, immediately, I knew I was a new person. And my life has been radically different than it had ever been before. I went home and I told my mom that I'd become a Christian. She goes, "Oh, Carl, you've always been a Christian. You grew up in a Lutheran church." And I'm like, "Well, nah, that does not make me a Christian." And so I've been living out my faith ever since 1982. We're now in 2025. And it has been a beautiful, wonderful journey. In the process, I served in the U.S. military for 3 years as a Navy dentist. I got exposed to missions. I then went on a missions trip. I became a missionary through Campus Crusade for Christ in East Asia, where I served for 25 years. I met my wife there, Gwen. She is also an American. We have 7 children, 5 boys and 2 girls. And we faithfully served in East Asia. And then God called us out in about 2017. And when he called us out, we ended up coming back to the United States to take care of some family issues. Her parents were getting older. But also I began to then work in Francophone Africa, making many trips there and teaching theology. I got my PhD in 2010 and was serving and starting seminaries in East Asia. And then when we got out, I was using that in Francophone. But one of the things that I realized, and I was very frustrated with, as I have taught for 20, 30 years, the Bible, is I really didn't like the approach that it was so focused on a person's mind. The mind is super important, so I understand that aspect of it. But it can't be just the mind. James is very clear that we need to be doers of the word. And so as I began to teach more and more, I began to realize I'm depositing a lot of information, but I'm not always seeing the kind of results I would like to see on the side of application. And then when we came across competency-based theological education, CBTE, I realized that was what I had been looking for. The only thing I think that is more developmental in terms of bestowing theological truths and seeing lives transformed is family. So second to family would be just the philosophic approach of competency-based theological education to helping people grow in their love for Jesus and reflect him in how they choose to live. And so that set me and our team on a journey, and that is what I'm sharing the fruit of that journey with you to orient you to what CBTE is, what it can look like in your country, what it can look like in your life, and what it involves. So I hope these videos are both informative, but also challenging, encouraging, and just uplifting, and let you realize that God is about to put you on a very special journey in His Word with a group of people who deeply love you and want to see you succeed. So thank you for joining us in these videos, and may they be used to impact you and to help orient you to what we call competency-based theological education. Thanks.